Hey guys, pretty excited to be getting into part 3 of this video here on making a new contact instrument. Start to finish, 3 videos so far. This is where we're at. I've got my custom wallpaper here with some effects controls. I've got all of my samples are key switched. Let's walk through this a little bit. A little bit of review. And if you haven't seen the first 2 videos, check them out. It'd be great. If we look at the group editor, I have every symbol has its own group, and each symbol has one round robin. So there's 2 groups per symbol. So they are the group start options. They will start on a key, and excuse me. Then they, like I said, each have their own round robin. Once I had that set up, I mapped each sample to white keys only, and then I had to do some editing in the wave editor. Mainly for sample start. You can see I've gone through and that doesn't look right, and adjusted the sample start for each of these samples, and then I've set them all to be one shots as well. So I won't go back over all that now. That's in the other videos. So what was left for me to do after all of that, sorry to skip around, and then I've got, I had effects already in place as well. Okay, so what was left was making some entries in the script editor, which, for the sake of sanity and convenience, I have been using Sublime Text. Okay, so let's look at some of this. My hope was, let me pull the instrument back up. Hang on. All right, so my plan was to have each symbol switched with a key switch. And then, like I said, I wanted to have the sticks or brushes, what have you, color coded. And I also wanted to have some some visual feedback on the GUI to show me which symbol do I have selected. You know, I've got the 18-inch china, you know, playing the bell with a brush, or playing the bell with a rod, or, you know, a short choke, scrapes, that kind of thing. So this is what I needed to do. In the script editor, I used several arrays. Let's get some help here from the KSP manual. So I used an integer array for my key colors, one being inactive, and then each color that I wanted to change. So that way I could just call on the key color variable, or array, I guess, rather than entering the key color each time I used it. Not to mention, if I want to change it, I can just change it in one place. I used a string array for my file names for pulling up graphics for that visual representation. And I've got some more that I'm going to do with that, more on that later. So a couple array declarations. And then what I also did is I wanted to be able to colorize white keys only. So I needed to set up another array to declare what are the white keys. And we'll get into that some more in a minute. That's, I think, the big news on the on init block. I had to set where that label is going to be. The label is my articulation label. So I declared declared a UE user interface label articulation, and I needed to hide the background. Otherwise, it will just show this blank background as soon as the instrument's loaded or the on-init block runs. I set the text to nothing, basically. Anyway, yeah, so that's basically it for the on-init block, right? So then when I get to my callbacks, I have an on-note callback happening. And the first thing that I do is unhide the background of that label by using a hide part, hide nothing label. You can find that here if you type in hide I thought it would bring up, yeah, here we go. On the menu, hide part, and there's some fields here that will explain that a little bit more. Anyway, so hide part is nothing. Hide part, the variable, is my articulation label, and I don't want anything hidden once I hit a note. So a lot of if-then conditional logic happening now. This is for my key switches. And I'll just go through one of these, and it's the same for each key switch. If event note equals 12, that's my first key switch, then I set the counter to 22. What is 22? 22 is the first note on the keyboard that's not a key switch, and I want to have the color wiped clean from that note all the way to the end of the keyboard. So I set key color of the counter number to key color 1, which is inactive. Key color 1 is inactive. And so I set up a end while loop for that. So while the counter is less than 127 number of keys, then I set the key color to key color 1, inactive. And then I increment by 1 that counter. It brings it back to the top of the loop, and that colors, or essentially takes out all the color of every key all the way to the top until it hits 127. Then it goes to the next end while loop and says, well, it first assigns counter to 36, which 36 is the start of my brush range. Okay. And this is the end of that range, is key 48. So while I'm in that range of keys, it is going to color these keys with color 3. Okay. Color 1 is inactive. Color 2 is red for my key switches. Color 3 is the first color for my key range. Okay, so yeah, one more time. So I have to set the counter up to the start of the key range, and then do a end while loop of while the counter variable is less than the upper end of my key range. It's going to set that color to key color 3. Now this line in here, this is kind of like a nested if condition, and this is what colorizes just the white keys. Okay, so if search this variable white keys, which I declared earlier, of the number counter modified by 12 minus 1, don't, it sounds, I don't know, it sounded very complicated to me. It sounds complicated, but that is just the line that's going to be needed to colorize the sequence that gives me just the white keys. Okay, so again, back up to my declarations. I declared the white keys. There's going to be 7 of them, starting with C. That's going to be a 0. C sharp would be 1. D is 2. D sharp is 3. E is 4, so on and so forth, all the way up. So that sets that sequence. And this if and if loop will basically find out, hey, is this key number a white key or a black key? If it's a white key, we will color it this key. And that is relevant to this instrument. Again, if you saw any of the earlier videos, I decided to map my samples only to the white keys. So I didn't want to have color over the black keys. It just seems like that would be confusing or a little counterintuitive. There's no sample there. So I wanted to have these key ranges colorized only where there is actually a sample. Same with the key switch. There's no key switch on any of the sharps or flats, so I don't want any color there. And rather than doing a line of set key color for every key and every color, I'm doing these loops and some nested if logic to only color the white keys. If I had more time, I'd find a way to explain that with fewer words. Okay, so that's just repeated through each key range. You can see this is my rod, 64 to 76. My scrape is 77 to 88. And then it's the same commands each time. While the counter is in that range, and if it's a white key, then it will color that key that particular color, and then it's going to add an increment of 1 to that counter and go through that loop until it's done, and then go to the next loop until it's done. Then it will move on to the next conditional statement. So that happens for every symbol all the way down until we hit an end if, and then it will do an end on. That's ending the on note. Let's see if I can zoom out of here a little bit. The on note callback. It's just a lot of code here, so I don't think we're going to be able to see it all at once. You can see, all of this one if statement. This is for one symbol, and again, this is just for my instrument. But for the splash, initially sets the counter so that I can initialize all of the keys above the key switches to be their original color, and then I set the ranges that are going to be colorized. Set the counter, do a end while loop, a nested if statement to find out if it's a white key or not. That goes through every key range and colorizes accordingly. And then the very last command is a set control par string for my articulation ID to set the picture by file name array 1. Okay, that was what I mentioned earlier. File name 1 is my 8-inch splash file, and that's just been loaded into my resources folder. Again, that was gone over in one of the earlier videos. So that happens for every symbol, and then at the bottom there's some control commands for my sliders for reverb delay and delay time, and that will be the end of that script. Now, what I'm going to do, because it's I'm just laughing because it just seems like I hate myself and I want to just create more work, but I really just think it will make this instrument a lot better to play when it's done, to have another set of key switches that will switch not from symbol to symbol, but will switch from stick to mallet to brush, scrape, and to be able to play every symbol with a stick, or to play every symbol with a mallet, versus to have one symbol loaded up with several ways of playing it. I can just see how that would, I'd want to play it that way, one way or the other, depending on how I was using the instrument. So I'm going to basically redo all of these little pockets of script, but what needs to happen first is a lot of it's going to be in the group editor, really. Let me hide this. I'll need to create several new groups and duplicate them so I can do round robins, and fill those new groups with what? Every stick articulation or every brush articulation versus every splash articulation or every 14-inch crash articulation. So there'll be a bunch more work to do there, and holy smokes, it's looking like that will be another video 4, like a little soap opera mini-series here on this instrument. But should be really cool when I'm done, and if you've hung in there for these videos, good for you, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.